Welcome into our special coverage of Winter Storm Jonas on AMHQ Weekend. Today is Saturday, January 23rd. I'm meteorologist Kelly Cass.
And I'm meteorologist Reynolds Wolf. This monster of a storm truly making headlines for what could become a historic winter event. We now go to Washington, D.C., where we have Jim Cantore. They've just been hammered by some of the winter storm weather from Jonas.
Yeah, and Jim, you know, we're hearing reports of thunder snow not too far from where you are up the road a piece in Baltimore. Could you see some of that?
Up the road a piece in Baltimore. Really interesting kind of watching the radar develop overnight, guys. Almost little waves in the radar. But either way, those pockets of high-intensity snows pretty much dominate the entire I-95 corridor from D.C. all the way, actually even south of D.C., really from about, Richmond all the way up to New York City. And what's interesting is if you look at some of the high-resolution models, it stays like that the whole day. All right? Holy smoke. There you can see it here. Before I get to the radar, let's take this wide. I want to just kind of show you around a little bit. What's interesting is we go in and out of the intense band, so you can actually see the rotunda now. Before, you couldn't see it at all when we walked over here. I walked across the street, measured about 11 inches of snow, 10 to 11. That's where we're at here in the downtown area. And that same HER model that I talked about, guys, is forecasting, seriously, another 20 inches on top of what we got. And that's just through 5 p.m. today. So all these intense bands will continue to produce 2 inches an hour. Basically, they're kind of east-northeast to south-southwest or west-southwest. That's the way the bands are lying. They're just rotating up in. And really tremendous sharp cutoff right now in New York City. Let's take a look at the radar. Let's get into the discussion a little bit because this is as crippling as we thought. Everything is coming to fruition as we thought it would, really, with this storm. So really, I'm not surprised. We had an estimated wind gust of 66 miles an hour last hour at Bayville, New Jersey. So what's scary about that is we know the low-level jets 70 to even 90 miles an hour sitting up there 4,000 feet. If we're getting that momentum transfer down to the surface, we have a damaging wind threat. I don't think that's going to be the case on a widespread basis, but it's certainly something here that we could see. Here's, again, a look at Washington, D.C. It's kind of interesting. You look at the observations, and we haven't verified yet as blizzard, at least at Reagan. All right, so we haven't verified yet as blizzard. Winds are, to me, this is kind of a warm blizzard. Temperature's about 25 degrees right now. It's 21 at Dulles off to my northwest. But the winds, at least where we are, we may be a little protected, certainly. We're not in that horizontal blowing and drifting snow. That's not to say we're not going to get into that, especially as the low begins to pull north a little bit. Right now, a sub-990 millibar low sitting just southeast of Norfolk, Virginia. So we have a long way to go with this. All right, let's model it out for you right over D.C., and you can see what we're talking about. Looking at all day, all morning long, moderate snow for a good part of the morning, right through the afternoon, and then we'll get into some lighter snow potentially by this evening. But that, I mean, maybe by midnight we'll be done. Maybe by midnight, but not before Reynolds and Kelly. Potentially another 10 to 20 inches of snow falls on the ground. We will be up there. We will be plus 20. The big question is, guys, by the time we're done, are we 25 or 30?
Wow.
I mean, it's just absolutely. I mean, look at this. Look at the snow. That's exactly what I'm talking about. There it is. Look at the snow that's still to come around Washington. That's on top of the 10. So right there, you know, we're challenging the 28 inches, which is the all-time record here for right where I'm standing.
Jim, can I ask you,
amazing snow.
People have been advised to stay off the roads if at all possible. People paying attention to that advice, or have you had people defying those orders?
You know what? I haven't seen many people out here. Of course, it's early.
Good to hear.
Reynolds, but the plows are out here. We've got some police action just down the road. Looks like a car has kind of slid off the road. But I'll tell you, I think anybody challenging, especially I-95 today, that's a big mistake. That's a big mistake, especially with these kind of banding features that we're seeing on the radar. Sure, if your trip is a couple of exits and you happy to be lucky enough to time the break between the bands, congratulations. But I would not try to do that. If we don't know when they're going to develop meteorologically, but we know that they're going to develop, I'd say a word to the wise is just avoid I-95. I mean, we haven't talked about it yet, but I-75, how many hours did people spend in their cars on I-75 in Kentucky, guys? What are we up to, 8, 10 hours?
Yeah, they're going around getting out water and snacks to those folks because there are still people stranded out there, Jim. We're going to have a conversation with you throughout the morning, obviously, and I can't wait wait to see what it looks like when we've got daylight and the winds really start to kick around that snow as well, Reynolds. But it's not just D.C. We've got New York City dealing with blizzard conditions later on as well. Yeah,
we had a shot of Times Square a little while ago where it's like being inside of a snow globe. In fact, look at this. Isn't it incredible?
Wow.
Goodness.
And there are a few cars. I see one car. I don't know if it was a cab or what it was, making a turn there in Times Square. But essentially, the city shut down. We've got blizzard warning in effect, Reynolds. We've got the heavy blowing snow. And along the coastline, we're concerned about the high water. Yeah, you know what's really concerning is you have the strong area low pressure. You got the high tide. You've got that coinciding with the full moon, which is going to really exacerbate problems. If we move this forward in time, you'll notice that we're going to have that rain right off the coast, but right along the water's edge, that snow is going to be a big issue for you. So we push this along and zoom in a bit from New York all the way along parts of, let's see, back into Philadelphia, Allentown, Stroudsburg, Scranton, back into Lancaster. As Jim was describing a little while ago, it's almost like a pulsating effect. It's not just one wave, but it's several impulses of heavy snow that's going to come through. The wind is going to be an issue for you from D.C. to Philadelphia to Ocean City, Richmond, back into Roanoke. As we go by midday and into the afternoon evening hours, we see this migrate its way up towards the east and then back into the northeast, farther into parts of the Atlantic, but still the strong winds then begin to move in from north to south. Look at some of the snow totals very quickly. We're going to see some places possibly from 18 to 24 inches of snow, and that may be conservative. You might have some other places where it could be even more than that. Folks, if you're in a safe place, stay there. We've got more information for what you can expect. Millions of folks being affected by Winter Storm Jonas.
A winter storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 20 degrees with light snow. Today, variably cloudy with snow showers. High 23. Tonight, partly cloudy. A few flurries or snow showers possible. Low 14. Here's our 7-day outlook.
No, take this very, very seriously. We're giving people a clear warning early, and this is something that did work last time. Giving people now a couple of days to change their plans, to prepare. Anyone who has the illusion that they're going to be taking big trips on Saturday and Sunday, get that out of your mind. It's not happening.
It's an icy reality they're waking up to in New York City. There's Mayor Bill de Blasio. Another state being affected right now is Maryland. We have blizzard warnings that are up across much of the state with reports of up to a foot of snowfall in some locations. So let's bring in Charlie Gishler. He's a spokesman with the Maryland Department of Transportation. Charlie, good morning. What can you tell us?
Good morning, Reynolds. Yeah, we're getting whereas the progressive storm here starts to really develop. We're starting to get some very heavy winds and high winds and heavy snow and drifting, and that's hanging up some tractor trailers, particularly on the Capitol Beltway, I-95, right near the US 50 interchange, and also some passenger vehicles. Now, we don't want the passenger vehicles out on the road there. They're not going to be able to handle it, as most of the roadways are snow covered.
And Charlie, we learned that there are some places where it is impassable, where cars cannot go at all. Do we have a large collision at the, what is it, the 495 interchange?
It's not a collision so much as that the passenger vehicles were trying to navigate some of the ramps and got hung up there. So we have crews trying to get them out there right now. And then just across the region from Frederick County down toward the Annapolis area, there are multiple tractor trailers that become disabled. So we have the heavy-duty trucks that we pre-position, and we're trying to get them out of the way. That way we can continue clearing operations.
Charlie, what kind of manpower do you have out there in terms of trucks, in terms of salt spreaders, of plows? What are we talking about here?
We have more than 3,000 pieces of equipment in action right now in the state of Maryland, so that's a pretty large contingent. That is our entire fleet right now. So they are going to be working 24/7 until we get lanes open. And our big goal right now is to try to at least maintain one lane on the interstates for emergency vehicles. So again, if you have plans to come through Maryland today, I would put them off and take a different way. It's just right now too treacherous out there.
Would you say that the same for maybe when we see the snow begin to die out a little bit as we make our way towards the end of the weekend? Still icy conditions can be expected. Would you urge caution for travelers even at those times?
Absolutely. That's going to be the biggest time we want people to stay off the road. I know people are going to be inside all weekend. They're going to get antsy, but let us get out there, because as soon as it stops and we get back up to normal temp winds and everything, our crews can make tremendous progress if they're left unimpeded.
Charlie Gisler, Maryland Department of Transportation, thanks so much for the great men and women of your group. You guys working so hard, dedicated, trying to keep the roadways safe. Kelly, tall order for them, and certainly farther up along the coast, they've got rough conditions there too.
And it's going to get worse as we go throughout the day today. Coastal communities along the Jersey Shore are at risk this weekend with mandatory evacuations in communities like Barnegat, Toms River, Seaside Park. We've got the winter storm warnings, coastal flood warnings in effect, and it's really a tough pill to swallow in areas that are still reeling from Superstorm Sandy.
Yeah. Is why I'm here, and I haven't left in Sandy, and I haven't left in any storms, because I feel that this is part of my history, part of our tradition. I'm very proud, and I'm very appreciative of all the jobs that you guys do and warning people and preparing them for what could come our way. So I stay here and I protect my property. And
oh man, widespread minor coastal flooding is possible this morning, but at times of high tide, we got to watch that. Along the Jersey ocean front, we're expecting a little more than an hour from now. The wave heights near the shore upwards of 22 feet. So here's where we do have the coastal flood advisories, even coastal flood warnings for some of you. As the water is beginning to come up now, we're looking at that persistent east wind or northeast wind coming in along the mid-Atlantic coast as our low is really getting cracking today. Of course, we saw the pressures drop off the Carolina coastlines, and we saw that energy transfer over the coast as the storm is developing. You can see Wallops Island, we're gusting now to 64 miles per hour with sustained winds up around 47 miles per hour. I've seen winds like that along the Delaware coast down towards Virginia Beach as well, with gusts as high, get this, 74, 75 miles per hour, so hurricane strength. Here's a look at the water rise we're looking at here along the tip of Maryland, about 3 feet, 1.4 feet around the Duck area. So we're going to continue to see the water coming up, especially at times of high tide. As Reynolds mentioned, full moon too. That brings the water up a little bit higher as well. And we are expecting the water rise to go up along this area as we've still got that persistent northeast flow. So as we check out Lewes, Delaware, we're talking about minor flooding, a possibility certainly, and getting up even into action stage where a lot of you may have to leave your homes, leave your community just as a precaution, Reynolds, but we're hoping this will not be so bad. We don't think it's going to be Sandy, scope, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
But still getting bad.
Goodness. All right. Thanks so much for that update. All right, folks, coming up, we're going to talk more about this winter storm. It's packing so many rough conditions. It's roaring through the nation's capital. Storm tracker Jim Cantortori is in the thick of it. We will have his update moments away. You're watching AMHQ Weekend.
A winter storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 20 degrees with light snow. Today, variably cloudy with snow showers. High 23. Tonight, partly cloudy. A few flurries or snow showers possible. Low 14. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Winter storm Jonas, it has arrived here in Washington, D.C. It's like a snow globe surrounding the nation's capital this morning, Reynolds.
Absolutely. That's always one thing you're going to see. Some things you might not see are some of those sites because of the intensity of the snowfall that could be coming through. Really limiting visibility. Plenty of visibility on Jim Cantortori. He's in Washington, D.C. right now for us this morning. Jim, man, we see it looks like it's a bit stronger than it was last time we were seeing you.
Yeah, it's similar. I mean, because we got the snow, it looks like it's picking up in intensity a little bit from just last hour. And it's kind of interesting, guys. Jeffy, see how much you can zoom in a little bit on my hands. I'm going to just kind of hold them out here like this. Maybe I should walk over to you. Let's do that instead. Because I want people to see, you know, it's almost kind of not a sleet pellet, but you know, these aren't just perfect little snowflakes. There's a little bit of melting going on the outside of stuff. So you see how they're kind of bouncing a little bit, almost like you get a little bit of grapple. So, you know, we're convective. There's a little bit of warm air in there as well. It's kind of mixing into the atmosphere, and that's falling out. Now, I'm not saying it's going to stay that way. We could easily go to moderate to heavy snow in through here, especially when you look at the radar. So let's go ahead and pull back out and also take the radar here. I want to show you what's happening. Looks like another area of showers, snow showers that we're talking about. It's getting ready to come on, and you can see where they are. These little northeast to southwest bands that are just rotating up again into the district right now. So more moderate to heavy snow. We've already got as much as 14 inches up toward Frederick. Leesburg is getting crushed. Just got a tweet there off somebody, 15 inches of snow on the ground. Hagerstown, Front Royal, all the places that usually get hammered. Baltimore had a report of heavy sleet, and look at the dry air coming in there. Look at that, a little bit of a break, actually, for Baltimore in terms of the heaviest precipitation, especially on the southeast side of the town. We'll see if that lasts. We'll see if that lasts, and that'll obviously cut down snowfall totals, especially if that lasts for a long time. But, excuse me, there's a lot of small-scale features that are going on now with this storm. A lot of dynamics. As a matter of fact, we even had a gust of 66 miles an hour up in Sussex County, New Jersey, at 66 miles per hour there. So that low-level jet is pushing that moisture up. The heaviest snow right now is definitely up into Pennsylvania, up into New Jersey, and across New York City. Newark is reporting 2 inches an hour.
Wow.
2 inches an hour right now. So here's the wind, 26 right now, Washington. So we're not blizzard. We have not verified yet as blizzard. Baltimore at 17, but look at the gusts. Tell me that's not convective. Look at the gust at Baltimore, 50.
Yeah. And they had thunder snow, Jim.
You know, they had thunder snow earlier. So big-time dynamics, convective snows and bands here going on in and around the nation's capital. Going to make for it. There's no way you can plan. I'm telling you right now, if you get a little bit of a break, there's no way you can time out when it's going to fill back in. But I can tell you it is going to fill back in, and more than likely with moderate to even heavy snow.
Yeah,
so
Jim,
a lot of interesting things to watch on the radar this morning.
We're watching the folks clearing the snow in front of the White House. So you can see the plows in action out there. And like you said, there will be a little bit of dry slotting here and there. But once you get into some of those convective snow bands, yeah, we're talking snowfall rates 2-3 inches per hour.
Yeah, and like I said earlier, some of the high-resolution models are predicting another 18, 20 inches of snow in places like Philly, in places like Baltimore, in places like D.C. So the fact that we've got 10 already here is definitely a testament to something that's going to put us in the history books with a top 3, certainly top 5 snowfall by the time all is said and done. And it's going to snow like this all day, it looks like. So heavy, heavy snow. And guys, remember, again, if you go out on the interstate, don't expect everything to be clear and nice like we have behind us, all right? Don't expect this on the interstate. A lot of these interstates, 495, as we heard, down to single runway or single lane operation out and through there. And speaking of runways, 4,100 flights canceled today.
Unbelievable.
4,100 flights canceled. And of course, a lot of them are here.
Jim,
back to you.
All right, Jim, thanks so much. Speaking of airports, at Reagan National, they had 13 inches of snowfall so far. Yeah, they're going to add to that also. Folks, take a look at this video. Yeah, wipers and windshield fluid just won't do the trick here. This driver's windshield iced over North Carolina. This happened on Friday. Just about 1/4 of an inch of freezing rain fell in the Raleigh area. And let's take a look at what you can expect from Winter Storm Jonas. I mean, this is a whopper of a system. It's going to be affecting so many people. You look back over towards Pittsburgh and points north, you have improvement. You go south and you go east, it gets infinitely worse, much, much worse. We head south to Elkins. We've got some heavy snow there, and also in Charleston. We were talking about the nation's capital and down towards Roanoke, where you see some scattered snow showers along the Appomattox River. Richmond, for now, looks like better conditions along the James, but we're not done yet, folks. And you are watching AM/HQ Weekend. We've got more on this system affecting millions of you. 77 affected in the icy clutches of Winter Storm Jonas.
A winter storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 20 degrees with light snow. Today, variably cloudy with snow showers. High 23. Tonight, partly cloudy. A few flurries or snow showers possible. Low 14. Here's our 7-day outlook.
I think people need to take this very seriously and recognize that this is the real thing.
This is no normal winter storm.
It should not be taken lightly.
We can expect heavy snow, strong winds, and whiteout conditions. Literally meaning a driver cannot see what's happening in front of them.
Don't go out until it's really safe to go out.
Get what you need done today. Stay off the roads.
Sound advice from New York Mayor de Blasio. Winter storm Jonas crippling the eastern seaboard and parts of the south this morning.
Yeah, already 19 inches of snow so far in Argyle, Kentucky. I-75 has been a nightmare this morning trying to get around. Here is what we know at this hour. 77 million people under winter weather alerts, including blizzard warnings, by the way. 10 storm-related deaths this week, unfortunately, and about 202,000 customers currently without power across 10 states. Now, Amtrak, they are running the trains, but they're modifying that service for the Mid-Atlantic region, and that includes no service, actually, south of D.C. this weekend to locations in Virginia and parts of the southeast. And we've got that state of emergency that's been declared in 10 states, including D.C.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know, in the capital city, the amount of snowfall we've had there is staggering. Dulles, we have 12.8. Reagan, we've got 13 inches. Over in Baltimore, we have 11. Let's go to Jim Cantore, our storm tracker. Jim, I have to ask you, we're talking about those snow totals, but what about the wind? Are you seeing any drifts develop, anything substantial?
You know what, Reynolds? No. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. We really haven't seen, to me, that kind of crippling wind that we would get. You know, I've seen gusts at times 24, 25 miles per hour at Reagan. Remember, too, though, Reagan is a lot more open. I'm down here. I'm downtown. So I thought I just saw a flash of lightning.
Listen for it.
Anyway, maybe I'm having a flashback. Either way, guys, you know, we got about 11 inches on the ground here. So it's interesting between Reagan, you know, really wide open, so you're going to get the wind, and where we are right in through here. Yeah, okay, so 11 and a half here. That makes sense. 10 and a half. It's just hard because there's just so much drifting going on. And there's 10 and a half as well. It just depends on where you stick this thing in the ground. It's hard to measure it. So, you know, in answer to the question, Reynolds, is the fact that we have enough wind, obviously, to blow the snow that's falling around a little bit. Yeah. And so, again, certainly hard to measure. I would expect more wind to continue. I think what you see right now is pretty much what we're going to get all day, guys, in this area. And, I mean, you can see the roads. They're completely snow-covered here. And we've had quite a bit of plow action over the last 24 hours. But last night, we had some pretty intense snowfall rates. Very intense snowfall rates. Over 1,000 accidents right now reported by the state of Virginia. Over 1,000 accidents. So,
and Jim,
that is why we want you to stay off the roads. Here's 95 and 495.
I don't think it's your imagination. You could definitely hear some thunder eventually. I don't know if we've got the lightning turned on that radar, Greg, but we did have some thunder snow in Baltimore just a little while ago. And if we do get those kinds of snowfall rates with that darker blue we're seeing on the radar, it's not out of the realm of possibilities, right?
Yeah, it's going to take a while for that to download on the actual radar loop. But at G-Dime, do me a favor, man. Close in nice and tight there on Washington. Maybe, I mean, if you look at where we're getting this little convective burst or plume, it's kind of originating to the south and east of Washington, D.C. So look at what's happened. That light blue has gone to dark. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if we're convective in spots. I wouldn't be surprised at all, especially given what we saw in the computer models. We were talking about this last night. It looked like from about 4 a.m. to really about 10 a.m. we could see some thunder snow here. Very, very strong, we call upward vertical velocity on the 700 millibar charts, pretty much maxing out right over us right now. So this would not surprise me if we actually had a little lightning hit. You'll see it come up perhaps after the segment, but remember, the images have to come down, they have to load into the computer, then of course come out to the distributor and then out to us on the Weather Channel. So there's maybe a little bit of a delay. We're not going to get it instantly. So oh, this is great. These are the meteograms. I love this. This is based off the WSI RPM model. And if you look at what we've got, it'll show you the snow intensity coupled with the wind. And you'll notice the wind in terms of sustained wind, and I was mentioning this last night, does not reach, this is at Reagan, okay, so this is for Reagan. It does not reach blizzard criteria as we go through the day today. Either way, that is a very high confidence in moderate to heavy snow during the entire day. All right, look at this. We're going right up to 5 p.m. today, then maybe some tapering as we get into 6 o'clock, and I think maybe an end to it toward midnight tonight. But nowhere do we see 35 miles per hour sustained for 3 hours in a row. Either way, it's still one hell of a snowstorm. This is, I believe, the RPM model talking about snow that's still to come. This must be the new run, and they've really tapered off the snow coming left over. What is it, G-Don?
That's our forecast, Jim.
This is our forecast. So this is our forecast. The models are a lot higher. They're about double this, but 7-8 inches more in Washington, D.C. throughout the day today. And you can see off to the west a lot more where we've already gotten, as I mentioned, Culpeper, Fairfax, Leesburg, 14 inches on the ground. So they'll be up in the upper 20s, low 30s before all is said and done. Baltimore, notice the model, especially around Chesapeake Bay, certainly kind of lessening things. And the longer we stay with that light snow and that little break, but I think that's going to fill in Baltimore. Don't worry, you're not going to be getting boned out of this thing. You're going to get the hammer, trust me. But north and west, up toward York, up I-83, very, very heavy snow. And again, these bands just continue to show up. That is some real intense snow to the southeast of D.C. Very, very intense snowfall coming to the north. Little break around Aberdeen, little break across Delaware, but the winds, again, guys, just as strong. And look at this heavy snow all the way up into New York City. Newark, 2 inches an hour last hour, all the way across Sussex County, even some gusts up to 66 miles an hour measured. So it is Long Island all the way down to D.C. That I-95 stretch is pretty much a hammer until you get to the Wilmington, Delaware Memorial Bridge. Then there's a little bit of a break in the snow. Reynolds and Kelly, back to you.
Just getting pounded. Jim, thanks so much. Thank you. Wow.
And no wonder everything's canceled. The zoo, the museums, everything is essentially shut down. And it's not just D.C. We're talking about millions of you under winter weather alerts as Jonas moves up the East Coast.
That's right, including that spot, the nation's capital. Your story's coming up. You're watching AM-HB Weekend.
A winter storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 21 degrees with light snow. Today, variably cloudy with snow showers. High 23. Tonight, partly cloudy. A few flurries or snow showers possible. Low 14. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Live look at Washington, D.C. for you, and we've got the snow that's coming down. Let's see, at the airport, we've had roughly, 13 inches of snowfall. We have another 9 that's in the store for us today. Oh, goodness gracious, folks. You look at the conditions there. You get the White House. The Rotunda shows more of the same. The snow, the wind, very troublesome. Over 77 million people being affected by this, but you know what, guys? We're all in this together. And the forecast is going to be one that's going to be troubling for you. You take a look right now at some of these maps, and we take you over to places like Williamsport, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, or you see Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. At times, it has been so intense, almost whiteout conditions for you. You take a look at Pittsburgh, it looks like the worst chance of snowfall, or I guess you could say the best chance of it will be from 6 a.m. through 8 a.m., then mainly cloud cover through 6 p.m. Temperatures cooling down to the 20s. So whatever snowfall you get on those overpasses and bridges, highly susceptible to having some slick spots, so be careful. From, let's see, D.C. over to Philadelphia, Allentown, New York, Long Branch, Keep in mind, New York, guys, it is going to be so intense, the precip we're going to be seeing there, coupled with the wind, you could have definitely some whiteout conditions in places like Times Square. But in Philadelphia, goodness gracious, that snow rate, you see how it's going to be from early this morning through about, well, noontime. We see it begin to taper off a little bit, but still moderate to heavy snow rates. So just really intense. We really don't see it let up until we get to Saturday around 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. Light snowfall can be expected, but the wind's still fairly strong. All right, we have a live image of Philadelphia, I do believe, and let's see. The shot of Philadelphia, we don't have it? Oh, I see it right there. There it is, guys. My mistake. And Kelly, can you believe how bad visibility is there?
You couldn't see it, Reynolds, because we can barely see Philadelphia right
Unbelievable,
now. It's a whiteout out there.
You got the lights towards the bottom of the screen. You've got the Delaware River, which has just vanished, but here's the reason why. We've got the snow coming down, and here's what's more to come. We've got about 10 inches in some places south of the city. Go to the northwest, 15 up towards Quakertown, 17 inches of snowfall. We go farther south along the Delmarva, where it's going to be more of a mix, 6 inches in some locations. But look at this system. Guys, if this was not so troublesome, this would be beautiful. Just watching it just crank its way up the coast. But it is crippling. It is troubling. It is dangerous. You need to be careful. And if you happen to be in a safe place, for heaven's sake, stay right there with your family and your friends, because you're going to ride this thing out. And we're going to see this eventually ride its way out into the Atlantic by Sunday. Seeing much of it begin to move deeper into the Atlantic. However, a lot of that cold air continues to funnel into parts of New England, so the icy conditions we have might stick around for a bit. Anywhere from 12 to 18 inches of snow in some locations. That's low compared to the 18 to 24 at higher elevation that can be expected. Gettysburg National Military Park. South we'd go to Antietam, Sharpsburg, maybe even places like Mary's Heights outside Fredericksburg could see some heavy snowfall there. This ends tomorrow, but the ramifications, the travel issues, the spilling over that we could have into Sunday, Monday, Kelly, could be rough times for so many people.
I like how you say we're all in this together.
We're all in it together.
There's no need to get out there, Reynolds.
Absolutely.
Everything is closed anyway, right? So grab the sleds, grab the hot cocoa, just kind of enjoy the snow day while you've got it, because you don't want to get out and encounter this on the roadways. Look at the snow, and look how snow-packed it is on some of the access roads leading into some of the highways here. So we're looking south of I-95. This is near Washington, D.C. The emergency vehicles out there, and that's about all that needs to be out there. We've got states of emergencies when it comes to travel across Maryland, D.C., Virginia. Snow emergencies in effect, too, so know which side of the street to park on so you don't get ticketed or worse, towed. It's very expensive to get your car back. Here's a look at the current conditions. We've got the snow coming down, and as we go through the day today and even into tomorrow morning, we're still going to have some issues on the back roads and some of those side streets and neighborhoods. But D.C., that snow blowing sideways. We've got those winds are going to really pick up as we go throughout the day. Baltimore, we've already had thunder snow this morning. More heavy snow as we travel up I-95. Every once in a while, you might get into a little bit of a break. We call that a dry slot. We see that on the radar. But still, it's just not good to even take advantage of those dry slots and try to get out there and travel, because the snow comes back at us right through tonight. It's going to be going strong. Even here in New York City, that snow is going to blow around tonight. We've got the blizzard warnings in effect. Now, it's a pretty sharp cutoff, Reynolds, as you get north of New York City into the lower Hudson Valley. But, of course, the cancellations, look at that. Over 4,000 now nationwide.
And that's just air travel. And as you mentioned, the roads are going to be treacherous, too. Folks, be careful. Stay at home. Safe spots. We've got more on this storm coming up. You're watching the Weather Channel.
A winter storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 21 degrees with light snow. Today, variably cloudy with snow showers. High 23. Tonight, partly cloudy. A few flurries or snow showers possible. Low 14. Here's our 7-day outlook.
We go back in time with the help of this video. This is Clarksburg, West Virginia last night. Foot of snow reported there as of 10 p.m. This was posted to our Facebook page by Eddie Law. Eddie, thanks so much for the contribution. You can see this parking lot was almost deserted. Winter storm warning continues there through this evening. Welcome back. You're watching AMHQ Weekend. Of course, the topic we're dealing with is Winter Storm Jonas. And it's funny how when you look at this in different ways, it can be both beautiful and troubling. Let's start off with this shot. I want you guys to take a look at this for a moment. Do we have this? Yeah, you take a look at this real view. Watch this curl. Man, if you are a weather geek and you see something like that, like I am, that is just beautiful. But it's so troubling for millions of people. 77 million people being affected by this system. It could be potentially deadly if you get on the roadways, if you do things that you shouldn't be doing, like travel. Man, the roads are going to be treacherous. You take a look at the blizzard warnings that we have, shaded by the pink, where you have the winter storm warnings. That's the darker blue. Winter weather advisories extend as far south as Atlanta, Georgia, and even down towards Peachtree City. Well, you look at this storm is nothing but a peach. This thing is a monster. We're going to see this thing continue to migrate its way on up, but look at the trouble we're going to see in parts of the south still. From Columbia to Greenville, we've got blue popping up on the radar. Raindrops in Savannah, but that's not the trouble. We do see some of the trouble along the Ohio River, east of Cincinnati, and now, well, wow, look at Charleston. We see some snowfall there, too. I think we have a shot of Atlanta there. You see on one part of the screen, lower right-hand side, streets in Atlanta, kind of slick in some places, but in New York City, dangerous as can be. We had a shot of Times Square earlier that really showed, there it is for you folks. Think about a couple things. One, you've got the snow that's coming through, but then you have the canyon effect. Yeah, those big, tall buildings. So when you have wind that sweeps right through the region and actually accelerates, which picks up a lot of that snow, pushes it, lowers your visibility, and it is troublesome. Hey, try this on for visibility. The strong winds, you see the current ones right now from New York, you've got 18-mile-per-hour winds, but the gusts, 33 miles per hour. Atlantic City, 29, gusts of 44, gusts of 64. And wallops, where it definitely does pack a wallop, and that combined with the strong winds going to cause that water to pile up. You've got, of course, the same time that full moon, so that's going to make really rough conditions. Let's move forward in time. With this time machine, shows you the radar, gets very intense back towards the nation's capital. Same deal in New York and Boston, a touch of snowfall, back possibly in the Berkshires, and then we see the system by the time we get into Sunday fade out. Let's wrap it up. Take a look. Some of these, Kelly, impressive, possibly up to 24 inches of snowfall in parts of the region. Let's kick it over to you.
Man, that real-time look from space, that was pretty cool.
Incredible.
This
Absolutely
is cool,
incredible.
too, Reynolds, because we're looking back 24 hours to see the evolution of this storm as we saw the energy transfer over toward the coastline. The winds were kicking up. Nashville saw several inches of snow. And even here in Atlanta, Georgia, we saw that rain change over to snow. Big, fat snowflakes coming down yesterday afternoon. And during the overnight, we saw mainly under an inch, though. But look at all the reports, more than 4,000. A lot of these freezing rain reports, heavy snow reports. We've had, of course, the windy conditions too, the sleet reports too, about 74 of those. So as we look at the precipitation type, you're not just looking at the temperature at the surface, you're looking at the temperature in that column of air that goes way up in the air, way up in the sky. You need cold air to support all snow. You get a little bit of warm air aloft to get the sleet, which bounces off the ground. It does accumulate though. And then of course when you get that shallow layer of cold air at the surface, that's the freezing rain. That's the tricky stuff to travel on. And then it's just all rain when it's warm enough. Our coverage continues of Winter Storm Jonas. Welcome back. It's all about Winter Storm Jonas and its impacts for millions of people up and down the East Coast.
Yeah, that's right. We go to our storm tracker, Jim Cantore. Jim, we've been taking a look at the forecast. We know how much has already fallen on the ground. Let's see, over a foot in many places. Yep. We've got a very long way to go still. A very long way to go.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think, Reynolds? We're maybe about halfway through this thing.
About halfway.
I mean, we still got the whole day and tonight to go. Yeah, so we're about halfway through this thing, and we may have half our total on the ground. So if we got 13, we get another 13, boom, 26. That's entirely possible in through here. Let's take a look at the radar. Some really interesting things going on. By the way, I was just looking at an email from Nick Wiltgen, one of our excellent meteorologists behind the scenes at the Weather Channel. A gust to 84 miles an hour.
Man.
84 miles an hour at Assateague, Virginia. Holy smoke. That's incredible. We've had several 60-plus mile-per-hour gusts from Ocean City all the way up to Sussex County. Right now, combined in Maryland and Virginia, we've got about 21,000 customers without power at this time. Huge precipitation shield stretching essentially from Long Island back through New York, northern New Jersey, down through PA, still back into Kentucky and Ohio. So expect accumulating snow still well west of the storm center. which is just to the east of Norfolk, Virginia. Guys, every time I breathe, excuse me, I actually suck in the snow.
Breathing in snowflakes.
I know you've been there, Reynolds, because you're on the field. All right, I'm going to call an audible here. I'm going to call an audible. Look at Savannah and Charleston. Yeah, that's snow on the radar coming toward the lowlands of South Carolina. How about that?
Unbelievable.
How about that? Little something for everybody, guys. Stick around. We'll be much more to come on Jonas coming up.
A winter storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 20 degrees with light snow. Today, variably cloudy with snow showers. High 23. Tonight, partly cloudy. A few flurries or snow showers possible. Low 14. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Winter Storm Jonas as we kick off the air this morning. 77 million people under winter weather advisories. We've got blizzard warnings stretching from Maryland to Massachusetts. A lot of people, but folks, we are all in this together.
We are, and we're talking up to 3 feet of snow possible in some areas. This crippling storm is shutting down major cities like Washington, D.C., as well as New York City.
And as the storm stretches south in Kentucky, some 3,000 motorists were stranded for hours.
We are covering this storm as only the Weather Channel can. We've got Storm Tracker Jim Cantori live in Washington, D.C. Meteorologist Stephanie Abrams live from New York.
That's right. At the same time, we're keeping a really sharp eye on the coast as well. Coastal flooding, erosion, a big issue. Jen Carfagnos in Atlantic City keeping a very sharp eye on that. Plus, the expertise of storm specialist Dr. Greg Postel. That's right, good people. It's an amazing team assembled for you. Hello and welcome to our special coverage of Winter Storm Jonas on AMHQ weekend. Today is Saturday, and my gosh, what awakening we have for so many people. Here's what we know right now.
Yeah, we're talking about millions, of course, as you mentioned, under some form of winter weather alert. It is making headlines for what could become an historic winter event. So, of course, a lot of news information surrounding this weather event. 77 million people under those winter weather alerts. More than 4,100 flights have already been canceled through today, and about 222,000 customers. That's a lot of people without power across 9 states. About 3,000 cars stranded overnight on snow-covered I-75 through Kentucky, and we're talking towns along the Jersey Shore issuing evacuation orders because coastal flood warnings and high winds are an issue for us there.
Yeah, you were talking about some of those flight delays. 4,100 plus flights canceled today. One of the reasons why, obviously, Kelly, is because of the heavy snow. In Washington, D.C., at Reagan, we've had over a foot. In Dulles, I think pretty close to that. And over in Baltimore, 9 inches of snow. And that's where we have Jim Cantori. Jim is in right on the mall in Washington, D.C., right in the shadow of the Capitol. Jim, what do you have for us right now?
Well, it's coming down. Very steady snow here. Moderate snow, easy. It looks like we got about 3/4 of a mile visibility. I can see the rotunda. That's 1/3 of a mile from here, so that's coming in pretty good. At times, though, we haven't been able to see it. All right, so it's been heavy. 13 inches of ground on the ground officially at Reagan as of the beginning of last hour, so we're piling it up, guys, and we could easily get another 8 to 12 inches more. Some of the computer models over this morning said we were going to get 20 more. So holy smoke. I mean, if that happens, you know, you're talking about 30 inches by the time all is said and done. But here's the deal. Behind me, the road, this is Louisiana, by the way, and you can see that it's still snowpacked. We've had plows come through occasionally, not in the fury that they did last night, but right now, with the kind of snowfall rates that we've had, what's been plowed, we've got a handle on. All right, we've got a handle on it through here. I walked across the street to measure earlier on, and, you know, just like what we had at Reagan, there's definitely been over a foot of snow. Not surprising at all in through here. But, guys, here, you know, you mentioned at the top, 4,100 flights are already canceled. The metro shut down here in D.C. There's been over 1,000 accidents reported across the state of Virginia. Please stay off the roads. Please stay off the roads. You heard the worst-case scenario for I-75, where people were stranded on the roads. Today, the interstate that will be impacted the most the most with the heavy intense snowfall, 2 inches an hour, will be Interstate 95. I need you to avoid that from Richmond all the way up toward New York City. Please avoid Interstate 95 today. All right, let's talk a little bit to Greg Postel. And, you know, Postel, I'm going to call a little bit of an audible in terms of what's happening up here in the megalopolis. Do you think it's going to snow in Savannah and Charleston this morning?
Yes, and I do, and I think it's within the next hour or so they'll be seeing snow. Look at you, that's great. You know what? I was watching it last night. There was snow in the Panhandle of Florida last night. Snow flurries, albeit, but still, it's gotten all the way to the Gulf Coast. Look at that.
Right. I love it. I love it. Give our folks in the lowlands a little bit of snow. Yeah, I love it.
Jim, they're going to get it, you know, not a whole lot. I mean, we got basically a dusting here in Atlanta, and that's about what they're going to get. But still, that's kind of novelty for them all the way to the beach. And so you might be surprised, right? That's pretty cool. But, Jim, you know, I was going to talk to you. You're going through sort of periodic bursts of the heavier snow, probably at rates of about 2 inches per hour at times. I was looking at the vertical velocities from the model, showing you there are bands that are coming in that are very significant and probably have some lightning with them. Have you seen that lately?
I thought I saw a flash last hour, okay, and I wasn't sure, but it wasn't enough. You know, there's a lot of light here. I'm in the city, so it's hard to see. But either way, nothing showed up on the radar. Postel, you know, let's bring up the radar from about Pennsylvania down into southern Virginia. Okay. Because what I think is interesting is we're starting to see kind of a new area of precipitation developing. Look at how the radar is filling in now down toward Richmond. And look at that moist axis extending all the way out, again, toward the Delaware shore. So, you know, is this kind of the next round of this storm coming in?
Yeah, you know, just looking at a radar, you have to be aware. You might see an area that's precipitation-free and think, okay, that's the edge of the dry slot. All I have to do is track it. Well, what's happening in that dry slot is the air is ascending. So you're moistening up the column, and you're going to start to get precipitation, heavy at times, I think, of snow filling in that dry slot as the air rides up and around the cyclone at mid-level. So you're going to see that dry slot fill in just as you are right there over parts of Maryland and Delaware. So you might look at, if you're in D.C. or northern Maryland or Virginia or southeastern Pennsylvania, think, uh-oh, we're going to get dry slotted, the snow's over. That's not the case. The snow is going to fill in, and I think, Jim, you're going to see a lot more coming your way. As you said, some models are going a lot more than that, right? Like a foot more.
Yeah, the 7Z HER model had 20 inches more when I looked at it earlier on, which is absolutely incredible on top of what we got. Hey, let me ask you this too, Greg. Another thing that we're starting to see here are winds, big winds, over 60 miles per hour. Ocean City, Maryland, all the way up into Sussex County, New Jersey. I guess because we're convective, we're allowing ourselves to mix down that stronger wind, aren't we?
Maybe, but here's the other thing too. Just above the deck at about 1,500 feet, the winds are about 80 miles per hour coming in out of the east from the Atlantic Ocean into coastal New Jersey and Delaware. I did look at the soundings, and there's a pretty strong inversion, so it's going to prevent, I think, you know, the really, really big winds from getting down to the ground. But there's enough there. I think the pressure gradient is strong enough, and as you mentioned, with some of those heavier convective elements, that will bring some gusts certainly over 60 miles per hour. And you mentioned in some places near 80, but those are going to be isolated. I think 40 to 50 to maybe even 60 is going to be common.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the 60 is a big deal, but I was kind of surprised to see it all the way up into Sussex County into northwest New Jersey at the airport. But they're also up in elevation. So you said it exactly. You said, look, at 1,500 feet, we're seeing that low-level jet at 60 knots. So there it is, right there, right there at Sussex County Airport. The other thing, what are you seeing in terms of these banding features? I think if we look to the north, okay, Jim, guys, we're going to take a break here and come back and talk about the northern band of the snow. Stick around.
A winter storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 20 degrees with light snow. Today, variably cloudy with snow showers. High 23. Tonight, partly cloudy. A few flurries or snow showers possible. Low 14. here's our 7-day outlook.
And welcome back to AMHQ Weekend. We are following Winter Storm Jonas. Here is the shot that we have for you. This is in New York City, Times Square. Notice the camera, Stephanie, is shaking, Kelly, for the time being.
It is moving around. We've got some gusty winds out there. A few lone souls in Times Square. It's usually not that quiet, right, in New York City. But yes, so far we've had a couple of inches of snow at Kennedy Airport in just an hour's time, falling between 3 and 4 o'clock this morning. So no wonder we've had thousands of flight cancellations up and down the East Coast.
My goodness. Well, Winter Storm Jonas could bring, as we told you, about 1.5 feet of snow to places like Central Park, maybe New York City.
And that would put it right around the top 10 biggest storms for that area. Maybe even a chance of cracking the top 5. We've got our own Stephanie Abrams out there in the thick of it right now. And Steph, what I feel is so ironic. They had a huge Winterfest planned for today in Central Park. They had to cancel it.
It got canceled.
And they made all that snow
had to cancel
for it.
I mean, I know the irony of it, where they were going to teach people how to ski and, you know, have all these different booths and whatnot. I actually just took a measurement here, and our snow here is about 3.5 inches. But we did just get a new update from LaGuardia, where we've had 5 inches of snow.
All right. Well, this is going to happen from time to time when we do these live reports, and we're dealing with folks. Is
You've
basically
heard of rain fade. Now that's snow fade.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to have issues probably with wind in many locations. You know, we got Stephanie in New York City, but we are going to have a report coming up from Stephanie's back.
Stephanie back.
We've got her. Let's go back, Steph.
All right, we're back, guys. So what I was saying is I put a little ruler out to take some measurements, but we're going to need the yardstick because now we're going 12 to 18 inches of snow. And Kelly and Reynolds, what's so interesting is last night, I should say, before going to bed, the dew points here were in the single digits, but it's really moistened up the atmosphere. We're now up into the 20s, and we are just getting snowed on across the tri-state.
Yeah, I mean, it is really pouring snow out there, Steph. What do you think the visibility is like where you are, and how bad are the winds where you are as well?
You know, here's what's interesting about New York City, okay? Right now, we're fine, but I am totally shielded by buildings. I mean, I have Columbus Circle to my left, I have Central Park off to my right here, and there's, you know, that's going to cut down with the friction and the wind. But you walk around the corner in New York City, and that wind will just smack you in the face. I walked here, it took me about 20 minutes, and you're like having a nice little walk, and you turn the corner, and then it hits you hard. But again, gusting to 36 at LaGuardia, and that's going to stay around, obviously, all day long. The snow's going to last all day into the overnight hours.
Stephanie, Mayor de Blasio was voicing his concerns earlier about how people have got to take this seriously, talking about the true danger of how the storm, it is something that actually looks beautiful on radar and on satellite, but it is so potentially dangerous. Are people paying attention to the judge, with the mayor's advice, or do you see a lot of people driving around?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's planning to stay, you know, hunkered down, but I did, you know, I'm on Snapchat and Periscope and all the social media. When I was walking here, I kid you not, there were stores that were open, and people were out shoveling the sidewalks and whatnot, but, you know, it's a city that never sleeps, not even during a snowstorm. So there are some stores that are open, but I would say, yes, for the most part, everyone's planning on being home and, you know, being shut down type of a thing.
All right, Steph, thanks so much. Obviously, we've got a concern along the coast as well, so we want to address that side of the storm as well.
Absolutely. So let's go beachside to Jen Carfagno. She is on the Jersey Shore with us in Atlantic City. Jen, take it away.
All right, Reynolds, so we're here in Atlantic City. The wind, if I look that way into the wind coming right at my face, along with snow right now in Atlantic City. Been watching the water. We are up over 7 feet when it comes to the tides right now. That means moderate flooding. So we'll have more on what's happening with the flooding situation, how the water is coming up on the beach. This wind out here, you can see the snow horizontal. We're going to talk about how strong the winds are and how stronger the winds could get. More coming up this morning right here on AMHQ Weekends on the Weather Channel.
And Jen, your shot is probably going to be the most remarkable as we have daylight, you know, coming later on. We're going to be able to see the water. We're going to, you know, obviously hear the wind on your microphone.
Well, look at some of these readings. Wallops Island, we saw winds sustained around 35. Has there ever been a place more appropriately named than Wallops Island with the wind you're getting there? Water piling up. Guys, what is the stage of the moon? The moon's not full, is it? I'm trying to remember. I know it's pretty close to it. I know that's going to really exacerbate problems along the coast as well.
Yeah, moon is full tonight, guys. Moon is full tonight, and so that's another concern on top of the push of water and the surge. We're going to have full moon, astronomical high tides.
And how has the coastline been faring so far, Jen? I know you were out there walking around yesterday.
Yeah. Well, and I just took a walk out before my shot this morning, and we'll go back out there once we get some daylight. Water's about halfway up the beach right now, and so haven't been able to check out and see if there's any kind of cutoff in the in the escarpment, as they call it. Concerned about the fact that we're at high tide at 6:43, so this is going to be the worst, and we're going to show it to you. We'll go out to the beach a little bit later in about an hour or so when the sun comes up.
All right, Jen Carfagno, thanks so much. Folks, you're watching AMHQ Weekend Winter Storm Jonas.
A winter storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 20 degrees with light snow. Today, variably cloudy with snow showers. High 23. Tonight, partly cloudy. A few flurries or snow showers possible. Low 14. Here's our 7-day outlook.
All right, taking a live look, multiple looks at Washington, D.C. We've got the snow globes surrounding the nation's capital. The White House, we've been watching them clear the pathway leading up to the front door there. And, of course, Lincoln Memorial. We've got all kinds of snow going on out there.
You know something else we've got? We have Jim Cantori.
We do.
We do. Hey, Jim, a little bit of a tidbit we just found out about a second ago. We were talking about the power of this storm and the people without power. Customers now, 222,000 people, customers without power at this hour.
I think the last report that I had for Virginia and Maryland was about 21,000. There's probably more than that. Obviously, where Jen is, where we're seeing those 40 to 60 mile-an-hour winds, South Jersey, a lot of power outages. I was reading down there, they've had a lot of power outages reported. Also here and around Washington, D.C. Guys, we may have actually had a flash of lightning when I was talking about it about an hour ago, because there's been a lot of reports of thunder and lightning in and around the nation's capital. So not surprising at all, given the convective nature of this thing. Just kind of widening out the shot a little bit. Yesterday, this whole thing was clear. It was snowless when we started our coverage. There hadn't been much at all, even with Wednesday night's 7/10 of an inch. But you can see now, the area is shrinking a little bit. And even when the plow goes by, it doesn't take very long, maybe about 10, 15 minutes before it's covered again with snow that you can actually start to track in a little bit. Wow, that's interesting. The police bus is out tonight, and the police wrecker is out tonight. That's interesting. All right, stay off the roads, guys. Do everybody a favor, because we've had over 1,000 accidents across the state of Virginia. I'm sure that number is going up, and especially, as we get up and have to go out and do things, and we don't heed the advisories to not go out, that's the problem. We're going to see, obviously, a lot more accidents, I'm afraid, because the conditions aren't changing. They're not changing all day. Let's take a look at some of the stuff we got at GDime Weather on Twitter. My man, Greg Diamond, to show us some of the data here. First of all, the radar out of Washington, D.C. is absolutely cranking here. We're seeing a lot of this snow just continuing to come on in. And it's interesting because we had a couple of areas, especially up around Baltimore, that actually had a little bit of a break. But notice how that radar is just filling back in. So a lot of ascent, a lot of rising motion going on there, where we quickly get back, guys, into the heavy to moderate snow. I want to bring in Dr. Greg Postel, our expert in many areas. Always enjoy talking to this guy. Posty, let's talk a little bit about this. What are you seeing in terms of trends, especially for D.C.?
You guys will waffle back and forth between some of those heavier bands, but, overall, that back northwest quadrant is going to eventually be sliding back eastward. So there's a lot more to come for you in D.C. And plus, I was just looking at some of the soundings in Maryland right now, and if, the air parcels are being lifted to 10,000 feet, no problem, I think, with that lift right around the circulation. And once they get that high, there's some decent cape in the soundings, Jim, which is why you're getting some thunder snow from time to time.
Yeah.
There's actually instability. It's just elevated.
Yeah, and we've had reports of it. We've had them across Pennsylvania. We've had them across New Jersey this morning, Maryland, and also into Virginia. So not surprising. What are you thinking in terms of the northern track of this? Does it make its way, let's say, north of White Plains? Does it make its way north of Hartford? Or are we really sitting on that I-84 area southward in terms of the heavy snow?
I don't think the forecasts have changed a whole lot with the northern edge of it. I think perhaps in the last 24 hours we've seen more snow forecasted for places like New York City, right in that zone. But that's just intensifying the gradient, I think, of the expectation of snow. I think once you get up into central New England, you're still not probably going to get a whole lot. Let me see if I can get a radar for you.
They're going to drop quick.
Yeah, let me get a radar for you, Jim, here, if I can get a Greg.
Yeah, because it looks really cool.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at the northern fringe of this, we'll just slide this radar up at GDime and show everybody what we're talking about through here. Because it's just, you go from really just incredible snow, 2 inches an hour snow over New York and Newark, to really very light snow within probably about 50 miles, right?
That's exactly right. And some of that's not even hitting the ground because it is so very dry in the subcloud layer. So it may be snowing aloft, but it's not hitting the ground.
Yeah. And look at what's happening to that. It's not advancing, is it?
No.
Even though we know the low is slowly moving, the precip shield's not advancing.
That's exactly right. And eventually this low is beginning to turn eastward away from the coast later on today. And that's definitely going to end any chances for significant snow in central and northern New England. We'll be right back with all the coverage on Winter Storm Jonas right here on AMHQ Weekend.
A winter storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 20 degrees with light snow. Today, variably cloudy with snow showers. High 23. Tonight, partly cloudy. A few flurries or snow showers possible. Low 14. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Closed captioning brought to you by Beltone.
Beltone is conducting a new trial on innovative hearing technology. You will be asked to evaluate a remarkable product that's virtually invisible. Call 1-800-BELTONE.
Good people, welcome back to AMHQ Weekend. Winter Storm Jonas, the big topic. Not trying to turn into your big brother or your dad, but if you can, stay off the roads, please. Winter Storm Jonas is crippling the eastern seaboard and parts of the south this morning.
We're even seeing snow moving toward the Georgia, South Carolina coastline. And get this, we've already had reports of 19 inches of snow in Argyle, Kentucky. And we've had some issues out there on the roadways. This is what we know at this hour. We're talking 77 million people under winter weather alerts of some form, even blizzard warnings for some of you. 10 storm-related deaths this week and about 222,000 customers without power across 10 states. Now, Amtrak, they've had to modify their service for the Mid-Atlantic region. That includes no service south of D.C. this weekend to locations in Virginia as well as the Southeast, and a state of emergency has been declared in 10 states as well as D.C.
Wow.
And we are covering this storm as only the Weather Channel can, of course. Our storm tracker, Jim Cantori, live in Washington, D.C. We'll get to Stephanie live in New York City as well. And, of course, Dr. Postel here in studio.
Indeed. And we're also keeping an eye on coastal flooding and erosion. Jen Carfagno's in Atlantic City keeping an eye on that, plus the expertise, as we mentioned, of Dr. Greg Postel.
All right, but right now, of course, we want to talk more about the specifics and talk wind and snow, even thunder snow. For some of you, Jim, maybe not exactly where you are, but it's getting close.
I know. We've had all sorts of reports around the district right now of thunder snow. Just not right here. I mean, I'm not going to say that I thought I saw a flash, because I really did. But I wouldn't have been surprised if I did. But there's a lot of lights. There's a lot of equipment rolling around. They, of course, have flashing lights as well, so I'm not going to say that that actually occurred in through here. But it's been happening. We've had it in Baltimore twice now. We just had another report in Baltimore of thunder and lightning, okay? So here at Reagan, here, Washington, D.C., we've got 24, 25 degrees. Dulles is 21, so it's a little bit cooler to the northwest, also a little bit drier. So all the moisture that's being thrown back there, we're actually maximizing that precipitation. Last official report, 13 inches on the ground at Reagan. And so this begs the question, how much longer is it going to snow, and how much more snow are we going to get? Let's take a look. First of all, the radar showing, pretty much what we expected. Oh, I wanted to show you this. Here's 3 pictures. The Rotunda, the White House, and the Lincoln Memorial. How beautiful is this? Snowing over D.C. Probably not a prettier city in the snow than Washington, D.C., especially with all the monuments and the parks and whatnot. It is a gorgeous sight. And when the snow finally winds down, I certainly encourage everybody to get out there and walk around and check it out, because it will be gorgeous. There's the lightning and thunder around Baltimore. Boom, baby. So we had a little bit of a break. We actually even had some sleet mixed in, but now with a tremendous amount of rising air motion, look at that area fill back in. Look at that. That's why we said to you earlier, oh, you see a break on the radar, I can go out and make a mad dash. Don't do it. Just stay inside, hunker down. Reynolds, I'm with you, man. We don't mean to older brother you or father you, but we got to do it. That's what we're here for. We want people to protect themselves. We don't want to see a repeat of Kentucky. Again, look at this precip shield, a sharp cutoff. New York and Long Island, far north of that, there's actually nothing coming out of the atmosphere right now. But obviously that is going to change as we go on through the afternoon. Quickly, I just want to show everybody how much more snow we're going to get. Here's the model going through the day. Look at this band, again, just stretching from the east off to the south and west. Here's our forecast for how much more snow we're going to get. We're in the 10-plus range here at Washington, D.C. So, guys, just do the math. 10 plus the 13 that we've gotten is 23. So that's the top 2 snowfall in Washington, D.C., right? By the time all is said and done. Baltimore, more of the same, 7 to 10 inches. And I'm going to be honest with you. If we get banding features with this, expect those totals to go up. I promise you they will be higher than that, especially when we start snowing at 1 to 2 inches an hour. All right, let's go up the road a piece, right up I-95 and Interstate. We highly encourage you to avoid today. Stephanie Abrams, my colleague, standing by at Columbus Circle. Abrams, where are you in there? Is that you? Yes, it is.
I know, we're getting it. Yeah, this is me. The winds are coming in good, Can Man. Right now, we just have a few inches on the ground here. The streets, they're definitely sloppy, but the plows are going through. But this is some good stuff here. I mean, here in Central Park, I actually put a ruler out. We've seen about 3.5 inches. At the airports, we're talking 5, 6 inches already, and we could see 12 to 18 when all is said and done. Just some numbers for you. On this date, the highest snow total we've ever seen, 12.8 inches. We could break that. But when we're talking about the greatest daily snowfall total at Central Park, 24.1 inches in February of 2006. I want to bring in Dr. Greg Postel. And Dr. Postel is looking at the radar, and you see these like bright bands of blue coming through. That's when we get those 2-inch snowfall rates, and then those pass. But there seems to be several waves of those coming through. What's causing those little bandings of heavy snow?
Well, you're probably getting some ascent, obviously very strong lift in the atmosphere out ahead of the developing cyclone, which is now just east of Norfolk, but probably inside of that, some areas where there is weakened stability and some convection in strips like that. So these sort of, I guess, those are crests of waves, you can think, as you were accurately saying, moving northward from the Atlantic, back northwestward, over Long Island, over central Jersey and North Jersey. I would not be surprised to eventually see some lightning come out of those. And these are going to stick around for a while, Steph, because you're going to get a lot more moving in from the southeast as the storm is still a long way from you.
All right, Dr. Postel, we certainly appreciate that. Yeah. And Kelly and Reynolds, I must say, the good thing about this system, it's not super cold. Our wind chills are down in the 20s, but it's not terrible. Tomorrow, we're going to be in the mid-30s, so people can actually get outside and enjoy it. And speaking of dressing for the cold, I have my little trick. I put it on Periscope and Twitter and Snapchat, but I wanted to show all of our viewers. I do have 3 jackets on, but underneath my jacket, of course, the way I stay dry and warm is I wear a full wetsuit. You can see, and I wear those like heat wraps.
Good idea.
I have those heat wraps stuck all over my chest and my back, so I am toasty warm and comfortable. So if anyone's going out and they're cold, wetsuit and heat wraps underneath, and you will have the greatest day. You can enjoy the snow.
How about your your toes, Steph?
They're good. I have on a couple pair of socks, but you know, I've learned also over all these years, if you keep your core warm where your big organs are, then the rest of your body, you know, can heat up your extremities.
Good.
All right,
Good
guys, we're going to
advice.
talk more about how to stay warm and also the amount of snow that will be falling as we head throughout the day. And when will it end? How long does this snow stick around? We have the answer coming up.
A winter storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 20 degrees with light snow. Today, variably cloudy with snow showers. High 23. Tonight, partly cloudy. A few flurries or snow showers possible. Low 14. Here's our 7-day outlook.
And welcome back to AMHQ Weekend. We're talking Winter Storm Jonas. Here's a shot from Seaside Heights, New Jersey, right along the shore. Blizzard warning in effect until 6 a.m. on Sunday, but the big threat, coastal flooding, and a warning that'll be in effect until noon tomorrow. Wow.
Yeah, so we've got a lot going on here,
Indeed.
certainly along the coastline with the wind, the wave action, beach erosion, a huge concern. So with that said, we've got Jen Carfagno stationed right there in Atlantic City, New Jersey, an area, Jen, that's still reeling, really, from Superstorm Sandy a few years back.
There you go. That's it.
Oh, hey guys, sorry. It's loud here with the wind. All right, so Atlantic City, and watching the wind, it's been over 40 miles per hour for the last 3 to 4 hours here. So I've got with me the mayor of Atlantic City, Don Guardian, to talk about what we're seeing right now. Don, you have been driving around. First of all, let's talk about flooding, because tides are up.
Yep.
You're expecting flooding right now. Is it happening?
That's the biggest concern that we have right now. Low-lying areas, even though it's an hour and a half until they're going to get high tide in the back bays, we already see a couple of inches in the streets, on the sidewalks, and because of the snow and ice, it's not receding down into the storm drains. That's going to be a concern. So as we get high tide, an hour later, it normally goes back into the bay. We're not going to see that. It's not going to be able to recede. So low-lying areas, you got to be real careful. Outages going on and off all through the city.
Yeah, let's talk about the wind. The wind has been over 40 very consistently,
wind is the
and
issue.
we're not getting any break from that, and not expecting a break either.
No, we're not. And you know, if you can think of it in normal terms, at about 10 miles an hour, you can't bicycle.
Right.
So 40 miles an hour, freezing ice, rain, good time to be staying inside. Roads are plowed, but unless you have a four-wheel drive, governor's already issued an emergency for the state. Wise decision, abide by those rules. Stay out stay in unless it's an emergency.
Right, so we have a slushy coat on the ground. Here, we've been mixing back and forth between a little bit of rain and sleet and snow. It literally is everything happening right now. In terms of keeping up with the roads, keeping up with, just the boardwalk, I've seen the plows out. Is that going to go on all day?
Yeah, absolutely. Boardwalk's a little bit different. You'll see we have wooden plows for the boardwalk so we don't rip it up. But it's important to make sure that we have safe access for everyone here. Have over 100,000 guests in the casinos and hotels this weekend. We've got to be careful that we're taking care of their safety as well as our residents and workers.
Did you have to evacuate any residents?
No. So far, no need to evacuate. State, again, has helped us. We have several high-wheeled vehicles. Those are the large Army vehicles that can get through a couple of feet of water. Luckily, Bass Pro is one of the new businesses in towns, and they've given us rowboats. So we actually have motorboats in each of our fire stations. In the event that we have high tides, we'll still be able to evacuate people safely.
And we're pretty much at high tide right now. The last number I saw was 7.3.
Yeah, you know what, though? With the dunes, not a worry when we get high tide on the ocean. It's an hour and a half as it hits hits the bay and as it rises.
Okay,
and don't forget bulkheading that keeps the water out also keeps the water in. So if the water can't recede back, the bulkheading would actually keep the water as a dike would in here. And so that's what we're worried about.
So how long in a situation like this do you think we're going to be dealing with the water up? You know, is it an hour?
Until Sunday afternoon.
Until Sunday.
You're going to have
so
high
even
tide
at low
now.
tide, we're not going to get a break.
We're going to get a break in low tide, but usually it only takes about an hour for the water to recede back into the bay, and that's what we're concerned about. In 2 hours, I'll give you a very accurate description of that as we ride around and measure.
All right, so in power outages, it's also numbers out there for South Jersey in general. It's about 20,000. Advice for folks who are losing power?
Yeah, you're losing power. Make sure you bundle up. If you're going to put on that gas oven, make sure you crack the window because you have gas in the house. Make sure you have batteries. If you can get somewhere safer where there's heat, certainly do that. Be careful if you're using candles, if you're using kerosene heaters, make sure there's nothing around it. Flashlight is still the best. Bundle up, pray to God for your safety.
I'm going to suggest folks start charging everything, right? Get your cell phone charged now, have your backup chargers charged,
and
just in case you lose power.
Absolutely.
All right, Mayor
good advice.
Don Guardian, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right,
stay warm.
Stay safe. You too, stay dry. So the wind, I don't know if you could tell we were talking, the wind is really, really gusting. And, you know, I'm kind of protected right here, but I've been watching the observations, and it's been over 40 miles per hour, at least, since about 2 a.m. And so that's enough, you know, to cause power outages, so we could see some more.
Yeah, I think it's all but a certainty we're going to have more of those power outages up and down the coast. Jen, thanks so much for that report. And we have so much more, Kelly, straight ahead on AMHQ Weekend.
We do. It's the snow, it's the ice. Of course, we've been talking about the wind, not the only effects of Winter Storm Jonas.
That's right. Dangerous flooding could be an issue in parts of the Northeast and the coastline. We showed you that a moment ago. Hey, commercial now. More on the storm after this.
A winter storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 20 degrees with light snow. Today, variably cloudy with snow showers. High 23. Tonight, partly cloudy. A few flurries or snow showers possible. Low 14. Here's our 7-day outlook.
And good morning, everyone, from Washington, D.C. The snow continues to come down. We're, I would say, a little bit more than halfway through our show here. Let's take a look at some of the cameras, though, especially out toward Interstate 95 and 495. Not a lot of folks out there, which is exactly what we want, but you can see how hard it is snowing. You can see how slow you will have to go. So this is exactly what we want to see for a good part of the day today. If you can avoid Interstate 95, especially from D.C. up to New York City, you are doing everybody a huge favor today, especially yourself and your family. All right, I want to bring in Dr. Greg Postel, our winter weather, our severe weather, our tropical expert. Today we'll tag on the winter weather expert. Postel, it's really kind of amazing when we saw this precip kind of pivot to the north, almost move out of Baltimore, but really fill back in a hurry. Great upper vertical motion, right?
That's exactly right, Jim. That dry slot is associated with it, the tip of it anyway, with air rising very quickly, and that is leading to the production of the clouds and precipitation right on the nose of that. And you can kind of see that happening. So you might be tempted to think, okay, well, here's a dry slot. All I have to do is time it out for these cities, and it's going to get to me. Well, Jim, what you and I are talking about all morning is that it fills in as it does because the air is rising. So you see precipitation develop right in that sector. And I'm not sure that the boundary between the precip and the precip-free area is going to move very much. In fact, it's probably going to eventually this afternoon head back eastward. So, you know, you got a long way to go yet.
Well, but let me say this. If we thread the needle with that and actually do spend a little bit of time in that boundary, our snow totals at the end of this thing will drop, won't they?
Definitely. There's no doubt about that. And especially, you know, places even farther to the east, because keep in mind, we got really strong winds coming in off the water, in some places gusting over 60 miles per hour. That's been common, and that is bringing some marine air inland. That's not going to get to you in D.C., but there have been some places aloft that have been nearby. The sounding has been changed up a little bit. A little bit of warm air has come in and mixed in some sleet at times. We've seen that, for example, in Baltimore.
Well, and actually even here, I mean, I can tell by sometimes when the crystals bounce, I can hear them bouncing off my jacket.
Yeah.
Typically in a pure snow event, you won't have that melting, you won't have that refreezing, but we have even had that here. So again, overall though, if we've got 13, 14 on the ground, Greg, we add another 10 conservatively to that, we're up there in a top 2 snowfall total.
Yeah,
right?
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to time it out now. If you can also put that up on there, and Jim, you can see this with me. The high-res models are doing a pretty good job of keeping a band of heavy snow all the way along the I-95 corridor there. That's through early afternoon. And so, in other words, that dry slot doesn't, the edge of the rain-free or snow-free areas does not make it. It
fills back in.
Exactly. And it's going to keep going all day. And probably you're going to be done with the main snow by later on this evening, Jim, and you probably end up with somewhere around 20 inches in D.C. And a lot of snow, I might add, in New York, New Jersey, and the tri-state area. Those guys are going to get crushed. So stay tuned for all the latest. We'll have everybody out in the field, and plus all the coverage on Winter Storm Jonas coming right up.
Come on, Milo. Come on. No, he's still in the water. Come on, Milo. Keep fight, buddy. Keep fighting.
Oh, crews saved a St. Bernard dog that fell through an icy pond. This actually happened in Fairfax County, Virginia. Oh, this took place last night, Kelly.
Yeah, luckily the dog is in good health after being warmed up, of course. Temperatures at the time, only 22 degrees, the wind chill factor of 8. But, you know, those dogs, they don't weigh a little. They weigh a lot.
Yes,
so
they do.
What a job that was, and so glad to see a happy ending to that story.
Oh, we're so far from the dog days of summer, especially here in Blacksburg, Virginia, the campus of Virginia Tech. We've got light snow, and we're going to take a look at how other cities are coping. Wow, this morning, the land's obscured by a little bit of water out there, and you can see a little bit of movement from the snowfall in the background.
Yeah, I-81, by the way, Western Virginia, definitely one of those bullseye areas for impacts as far as the snow and even the ice that we saw, too. And in fact, we're going to take a look now at the radar and show you, of course, Blacksburg in this vicinity. There's Roanoke, and we see the darker blue. That indicates still some very heavy snow going on.
Now, why is this happening? We're seeing some of the snow move from north to south. On the other side, it's more east to west. That's all because it's going around that center of circulation. And look what's popping up. We've got all these storm reports, including the snow at the airport. Over 12 inches of snowfall there.
Yeah, over a foot of snow. We are digging out for sure. And as a matter of fact, our team coverage of Winter Storm Jonas will continue coming up at the top of the hour.
Yeah, absolutely right there. You see the great team assembled. All right, folks, you're watching AMHQ Weekend. Sit tight, stay warm.
A winter storm warning is in effect. Currently in our area, 21 degrees with light snow. Today, snow, high 23. Tonight, partly cloudy. A few flurries or snow showers possible. Low 13. Here's our 7-day outlook.